Okay, today we're going to talk about finding percents. Finding percents. So put the title at the top of the page, put the date in the top right corner. Okay, you might remember this from last year, but you need to write this at the top of your page. Is over of equals percent over 100. We learned about this in 7th grade, and it's coming back in 8th grade. We're going to go a little more accelerated this time, but I think you'll be able to get it. So is over of equals percent over 100. All right, so what exactly does that mean? Well, you learned about ratios and proportions in the last chapter, so in this chapter, we're gonna use it as well. It says what percent of 144 is 64. So here we have a percent, we have an is, we have an of. So here's what it looks like. I always write is over of equals percent over 100. Now it says you're going to identify all the different parts of it based on where it is in the sentence. So it says what percent. When it says what percent, that means we don't know what percent. So what goes there? An x. Because it says what percent. We don't know. It's a variable. So that's over 100 because percents are always out of 100. Now, what about the is and the of? Well, look what's next to the of. Percent, not percent, because that's with the what. So it says of 144. So since that's the of, where does the of go? On the bottom. And what about the is 64? That goes on top. And now you can cross multiply. So 64 times 100, again, remember, just multiply out. Put those two zeros, 6,400. And then you do 64 times 100 divided by 144. Because, remember, it's 64 times 100 equals 144 times x. Because, remember, we do cross multiplication here, right? So it'd be 6,400 divided by 144. And let's say 144 goes into 6,400. I'm guessing 4 times. So that's 16. That's a 576. That looks about right. And then we subtract, get 64 and a 0. Again, that goes in 4 times, because the same as last time. And that's 576. Looks like that's going to keep happening. So we would do that. All right. So our answer would be 44.4 repeating percent. And remember, we have to put the percent because it says what percent. So it'd be 44.4 repeating percent. Okay, try number 2 on your own. Okay, number 2. What percent of 92 is 66? So, again, is over of equals percent over 100. Again, what percent? When it's what percent, we put an x there, and it's always over 100. Of 92, so our of, which is on the bottom, is going to be 92, is 66, so we're going to put the 66 on top. And we cross multiply. 66 times 100 equals 92 times x. That'd be 6,600 equals 92x. Divide by 92. Divide by 92. And if we just use a calculator, it ends up being, I don't recommend always using a calculator because they are the devil, but you could see some students rolling their eyes right now. It ends up being 71.74. And that would be percent because we're finding percent. So in this instance, I guess you guys can use your calculators. All right. Now, what does it look like when we know different parts? This says 42 is 5% of what number? So again, I'm going to write it down. Is over of equals percent over 100. It says 42 is. So I know that that's my is, because the 42 can't be connected to anything else. It's not connected to the percent because that's all the way over here. It's not connected to the of because that's over here. So the 42 has to be your is. 5%. Since it's 5%, we know that that's the percent. And remember, it's always over 100. A lot of students get confused. They say, well, what do you put below the percent? Well, percents are always out of 100. That's what percent means. Per cent, cent means 100. Percent, per 100. Of what number? So our of would be x, because it's what number? We don't know. So then we would do 42 times 100 equals 5 times x, because we, again, we cross multiply there. So that would be 4200 equals 5x. Divide by 5, divide by 5. And x would be 840. Now, is this a percent? It's actually not a percent because it's not in the percent. We already know it's 5%. So 42 is 5% of 840. Okay, try number 4 on your own. Okay, welcome back. So it says 60 is 12% of what number? Again, let's write down our is over of equals percent over 100. 60 is 12%. Remember, it's always out of 100. Of what number? So our of is actually going to be x. And we would cross multiply. 60 times 100 equals 12 times x. 60 times 100 is 6000, right? So 6,000 equals 12x. And it's the same as 60 divided by 12, which is 5. And then you add those two zeros. So x would actually equal 500. And is that reasonable? Is 60 12% of 500? Yeah, it's about right. If 50 is 10% of 500, then 60 is about 12%. So our answer would be 500. All right, great job.